welcome back to another lesson of the Logos and Letters. My name is Liam, and let's continue on with Chapter 8, Qualities. So, we got to a brand new little topic here. It's still a part of what we're speaking about, but it's its own little separate, I don't want to say niche, but its own separate consideration here. So, lukotes te kai melania kai hai allai kroiai uton nauton tropon tois ai reimenos patete kai poyo taites. Right, so in short, we have like 4 colors. We have whiteness and blackness and all the other colors, hayalai kroiai, the other colors, but they are not spoken in the same way, in the same manner, in the same mode, tonaton tropon, as the aforementioned tois ai reimenos. Right, so the aforementioned is all this stuff here, but specifically what we just covered in the last lesson. Okay, so this stuff here about affective qualities and affections, or instead of affections you can say passions. Pathetikai poyo tetes. Right, so affective qualities, they're those long-lasting things, important to know. And it's important to know that he's mentioning legontai, right? So they're not said of the same way. Alatoi autas apopathus gegonenai, right? This is the key. This is the interpretive key here. How to consider colors. Okay, so the logic here says, but according to like the same affections, they are generated, they come about, they are born, produced. Gegonai. Geg onenai. I pronounced it right the first time. Gegonenai. Hotimen un ginontai dia pathus polai metabolai chromaton. Right, so this is the key here. So he's speaking about colors can change, right? Quickly change in a specific thing, whatever you consider. But let's consider it now as human beings first. Let's consider them because they will explain the logic here quite clearly. Hotimenun genontai, right? So therefore they come about through the affections, through the passions, right? Now, what does that mean? You already know what that means. Think of any like Disney movie, all right? Think of that. Think of when someone receives a nice compliment or is embarrassed. What happens? I'm not even going to say the answer. What happens? Think if someone is told terrible, frightening news, okay? Maybe you think you're going to get in a whole lot of trouble at school or university or work, right? The boss wants to speak to you. What might happen to the color of your face, your body as a whole? I'm not going to tell you the answer. I'm going to leave that there. Hotimenun genontai dia pathu. So through, on behalf of these affections that we feel, the colors come about. Polai metabolai, much change of the colors, much change of the colors. Polai metabolai chromaton. Dailon, right? It's clear, right? It's clear. Here is why it's clear. Here's some examples that he gives. Aiskuntes gartis eruthros egenato kai phobethais, right? So the shameful one, right? Some shameful one, that's how I like to interpret this, is someone might say the person who is ashamed, but the shameful one. So imagine you are the shameful one for a moment. Imagine if you've ever been the shameful one in that moment where you're ashamed of yourself. What happens? Eruthros, right? Yeah, they blush. They often blush, right? It's not the same as like raw guilt. It's just like, oh my God, that was embarrassing, or that was really embarrassing. What happens? You blush, right? Eruthros egenato, right? So the blushing sort of comes about because of this, right? This is like a pathos. This comes and goes quite quickly, doesn't it? So we know it's not an affective quality because it comes and goes quite quickly. this ashamed feeling. I mean, it can linger for a day or 2 days, depending on what it is, but that's not long lasting like an affective quality. So this comes about, and then a change in color. Polai metabolite chromaton, right? Quite a lot of change in the color can happen. Kai phobeitheis, right? The fearful one. Okros, right? So when someone is absolutely terrified in a movie or a TV show, what happens to the complexion of their face? Usually they become more pale. All right, so okros meaning like pale, or literally ochre, or sallow. All right, so kai hakaston don toyu don. So, and each of the same thing. So there are other examples of this, of emotions or affections generating a change in color in the person, right? And as he said, so point blank, where is it? It just says delon. I know I've lost it. Here, delon, right? It's clear. Hostekaitis fusaiton toyuton di pathon pebonten ektinon fusikon symptomaticon, right? I'm probably gonna symptomaton, sorry. Probably gonna leave it here actually at this clause, and just finish up this quick lesson with this stuff here. So hostekaitis fusaiton toyuton di pathon pebonten, right? We've seen pebonten before. What is it? It's like suffered. It's suffered what? It's suffered like some feeling, emotion, sensation, pathon, right? Suffered some form of that. And from this, we get some like physical manifestations, symptoms, literally, symptomaton, right? But in the Greek, like, it's not so medical. It can also just mean like a giveaway, a telltale sign, right? It can mean that in that sense. So from some physical telltale signs, we see these. What do we see? We see the kroiai. We see the colors. Okay. So that's why colors are in this section. That's why colors are a quality. Obviously, they're a quality. The affective quality is like the abstraction of the color. All right, so the whiteness and blackness and purpleness and greenness, that's like an abstraction. That's an affective quality in the substance. However, often an inseparable accident, as we said before. However, the color that you can really see in all its shades and hues, the particular accident, if you remember, I think it was chapter 3 or chapter 4. No, chapter 3, I think we spoke about that. Maybe even chapter 5 as well. Particular accident, that's the affection. Okay, that comes and goes. That changes all the time, right? Changes quite quickly sometimes a little bit slow. It changes quite a lot. And yeah, so a person who is blushing, eruthros, right, is you don't expect the blush to last too long. You don't expect it to last too long. You don't expect it to last the whole day. Okay, that'd be sort of cause for concern, medical alarm. All right. So, you know, if the father missed this shot, he might actually blush a little bit from embarrassment. You know, he's done everything right up to this point. All he had to do was just hit his mark. You know, he primed both barrels as well, just so he definitely wouldn't miss, and he still misses. Oh, you know, he can't help it. You know, and if the boy saw a large, fearsome animal coming towards him, he might go pale. He'd be phobeitheis, right? Phobeitheis. And he would go okros, right? Like sort of pale. So yeah, that's just a quick lesson on the colors, really. Yeah, you know what? We can do a little bit more. It's the same idea. Tein homoian, kroian, I kosestin, right? It's like probable, it's possible. Ikain, auton, right? So and similar colors are probable, the same thing to have. I know that sounds strange, but that's like the literal translation. So it's very likely that the similar colors will be had by this or that person in any situation. So let me expand upon that. So consider, we've spoken about them long enough, right? Consider these kids, right? They're all different kids. Maybe they're from different families and they just hang out, same village, and they all just hang out here, right? This is their favorite spot. If even though they're different kids, they're still going to experience the same change of colors in the same circumstances, from the same affections, right? They're all going to go pale from fear, blush from shame. They might go like a sickly color when they're sick, or nauseous, or have a sense of dread. So that's what he's really pointing at with the last sentence. It's likely that everyone experiences this same change of colors in the same emotional states, these same affections, all right? Or the feelings, like the pathos, right? Generates this feeling, because that's what we looked at, egeneto, right? It has come about from these states. Okay, now that that's clear enough, I think we can proceed on. Heitis garnunen toi eskuntenai, right? So in the one who is in the state of being ashamed. Diathesis ton perito soma egeneto kai kata fusikain sustasin he auto iganotan, right? Okay, it's a long sentence, but it's got one clear idea, right? First of all, diathesis. You could possibly remember this from earlier lessons. Disposition, right? The opposite, well, not the opposite, but it goes along with habit. Dispositions are usually the short-term things, and here he's clarifying that yes, it is a disposition to be in these states of shame and whatnot. Affections are usually dispositions, and being in a state of being ashamed is definitely a disposition, and it concerns the body, right? It concerns the body, peritosoma, and it all happens in the body too. Peritosoma egeneto. And according to the nature, right, it is composed. Sustasin means like constituted or composed or formed or constructed, even all those things. Because of its etymology, it has quite a rich amount of possible translations, which makes sense. So, according to the nature, like of that same thing, it composes these different states. So he's not saying really that it's like it's magic, or we have the ability of like a chameleon who can change the color of its skin to match and camouflage. No, he's just saying like this is a bodily reaction that happens in response to a state, and which is completely normal to consider, and it's constructed in the body. All right, it's not like sort of formed and constructed by outside influence. It's an inside influence thing, and yeah, that's how it generates. Pretty simple stuff, really. Most people can intuit this stuff anyway. We sort of already knew how it worked, but the logic is here to lay it out plain and simple. At the end of the day, we know it is an accident. We know it is a type of quality. We know that it is physical, all right? And yeah, we can proceed on. I think this last part, hosta fusai, yeah, there's a full stop here, I'll end here. Hosta fusai kaiten kroyan homoyan gignestai, right, to have come about. So, according to the color, a similar color, in nature, this comes about. So, you can, like I said before, you can have a whole array of different people in different circumstances of life, different ages and contexts and education and whatnot, but they're probably going to end up, most likely, if not certainly, going to end up representing the same affections, the same colors by them. And yeah, so how does this relate to anything practical? I think that's obvious, but how does this relate to more complex topics? This is something I usually don't do. Well, it's just another way of analyzing what we read in texts that claim that they're true. So if you're reading the Bible, for example, and you hear that someone goes pale, or someone goes blushes, or someone is ruddy, like red, if you hear or read any of that stuff, well, now you've got the logical tools to proceed with an analysis. You know that they are in the category of qualities. You know that they're an affection. You know that they the colors represent the passion, the feeling, the emotion that they are undergoing and experiencing. You know it's a disposition. It won't last long. And because you know it won't last long, you know you can't name and label and dress people by that thing. So if someone's scared for one moment, all right, in a whole episode of their life, you cannot then call them a scared man or a cowardly man, right? It has to be a habit for that to happen. And habits are more longer lasting, more enduring, right, more frequent. So if a man is scared once, he's not a coward. I mean, you might investigate what he was scared of, and that's fair. If he was scared of something he shouldn't be scared of, that is a different matter. If a lady is ashamed of something that she just wants, that doesn't mean she's a shameful lady. If someone was embarrassed once and blushes, you know, that doesn't mean that that person's an embarrassing person. So there are some practical takeaways from what we're learning, and we can use logic now to analyze that. Okay, you've got the logical tools to start an investigation there and to understand it clearly and its relationship with the physical world. If you're a medical student and you're studying this stuff as well, you've got the happy benefit, or even if you're not a medical student, you've got the happy benefit now of explaining it logically and medically, right? You can complement the two together and have a very full, very like Swiss Army knife approach to explaining it. If you're a psychologist as well, now you've got the logical tools to explain it. So this education can complement lots of people from different contexts. But now that we've covered that, we can proceed on with a new topic in the next lesson. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that one. It's a little bit different, isn't it, in feeling from what we usually do. We usually do things that are quite dense and abstract and whatnot, but this one was incredibly like real, incredibly how do you say, you know, visceral in a sense. So it was nice, it was refreshing. Caught me off guard a little bit, to be honest with you. I haven't read this part in a while, and I was expecting you know, quickly to go into something more abstract, but it didn't. Nice. Okay, so I'll leave it there. As always, semper fortis in opere. My name is Liam, and I'll see you next time.